So 2025.2 is bringing some exciting updates for foreign tables, namely for the pushdown feature that foreign tables supports, which is where we can take the query that you're entering, isolate some of the features of that query, and then regenerate them for the external database to process locally where it has better access to statistics about the table, indexes on the table, and so on. So in this case, I've got an example set up where I've got a customers table and an orders table. And we'll just really quick, I'm in the source system, and we can just select some information, just some example rows from the customers table and the orders table as well. And you'll see that we've just got some random data floating around in there that I randomly generated for the purposes of this demonstration. Now, if we go over to the 2025.1 instance that I have already installed, and I execute some queries against some foreign tables that I already have defined against this external server that we just saw, we can look at the plan for those queries, and we'll notice that when we generate a query to send to the external system, all we've got is a where condition to push down and have the external system work on. And so if we execute that query, in this case, we've got an aggregate, some grouping, a having condition that also involves an aggregate. If I execute that query, we'll notice that it'll take probably about 3.94 seconds, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but that's because we're bringing all of this data back across the network and then locally processing it instead of just letting the system that knows about the data and holds the data do that work of aggregation. The same thing stands for if we do a row limiting clause like select top 25. We can look at the same thing if we look at the plan, and the concept is still there. All we've got is the where clause being pushed down. And so if we execute, we'll probably see about the same amount of time spent processing this query, again, due to the fact that we're still just bringing all of this data back over, and we get about 3.4 seconds. If we head into a new 2025.2 instance, where I've got the same exact foreign tables set up, we can run the same exact queries. We'll start off with the same first one. This is the query with the average aggregate, the having clause, and so on. Whereas before, we would only push the where condition for processing on the external system. If I show the plan for this query, we'll notice that now we're actually regenerating the entire query, including the aggregates, the where clause still, of course, the grouping, everything but the kitchen sink, and then sending that to the external system to process with all the data that it has. In this case, the external system is an IRIS system, but it could just as well be Oracle or Postgres or so on. Not Oracle in this case, yes. And if I execute that, we'll notice that instead of 3.9 seconds, we'll get back in about 0.3 seconds. The reason being that we no longer have to spend all of this time and effort bringing, in this case, about 1 to 2 million rows total back over the wire and then processing it locally. And of course, that'll just, the performance gain would just scale the more rows that you're trying to bring across. And so we can execute the same query before the top 25 with the row limiting, as I was talking about before. If this was going against an Oracle system, we'd want to use a different row limiting clause like a fetch syntax, honestly fetch syntax, which Oracle supports, as opposed to the top syntax, which Oracle will complain about. But if we execute, or first take a look at the plan for this query, we'll notice that we're pushing this top condition with the order by, and then when we execute the query, we'll probably notice the same exact performance gain, more or less. We go from 3-point-something seconds down to 0.3. And of course, we can combine the two together and execute the aggregation query that we had before with the row limiting clause. The same concept stands. We push the entire query as is to the external system. We don't have to do any local processing. We just loop over this much reduced result set that we get back. And because of that, we go again from 3-point-something seconds down to, in this case, about 0.6 seconds. So this is something that you can use right out of the box of 2025.2 foreign tables. You don't have to do necessarily anything special to tell the SQL engine to recreate and push these structures. It'll analyze the query, look for when it's okay for us to isolate the aggregates and the grouping clause and so on, and of course the where conditions, and push it to the external system. And more importantly than that, if we can't push that to the external system for you're using perhaps an IRIS specific aggregate or something along those lines, we can still push, let's say, the where condition so that we can do some external processing and still cut down on the result set that we're bringing back. But this is really powerful because it allows us to basically be as lazy as possible and offshore this work to another system that can do it much quicker, and we can work smarter, not harder, to get results back from a foreign table.